The cognitive learning style of persons with autism spectrum disorders is very specific. They're very concrete learners. The converse of that being abstract learners, they have a great deal of difficulty with anything abstract. Take, for example, passage of time. When you've asked a child, or when you've told a child, it's 10 minutes until we're going to get ready to go for swimming. Well, what is 10 minutes to a child who understands things that are concrete? So you set a timer. That's concrete. You turn an hourglass. Use stacks of blocks together and you take them away as those 10 minutes tick down. I think Temple Grandin said it the best when she said, these individuals think in pictures. And if you think about it, you can make a picture in your head of anything that is concrete, whereas you can't make a picture in your head of something that is abstract. Temporal terms, for instance. Temporal terms, you can't make a picture in your head. So of course these individuals are going to have difficulty with terms like tomorrow or later or in a while or wait, anything that is abstract. So it's important that we understand that they resonate more to concrete material. Similarly, they resonate to visual information rather than auditory information. I've heard the split of a 90-10 split, 90% visual, 10% auditory. If you keep that in mind, that can really drive your intervention too. That if material is presented in a visual format, they're much more likely to comprehend it than if it's presented in an auditory format. We know that they don't resonate well to language, and therefore we have to supplement language with a visual presentation. Memory is another area of their cognitive style. It looks like they may have a good memory because they have a good rote memory. The children that can repeat whole phrases or whole scripts from Disney videos, but it doesn't buy them much. They have that rote memory, but it's not a flexible memory. They aren't good at recall memory. And for children with disorders on the autism spectrum, that's really, really pertinent because recall memory is a lot more difficult than recognition memory. They have difficulty with attentional shifts too. So it's very characteristic of a child with autism to have difficulty with transitions. And I think the difficulty with transitions is attentional shifts. If they have to shift their attention, they don't accommodate that well. And that's what transitions are. Predictability, they love predictability. They love anything that's rule-based. So that's another piece of their cognitive style. They're gestalt processors. They will process as a whole. They aren't able to chunk things down into smaller pieces. We see that when they echo, when they engage in echolalia and will echo a whole phrase. They aren't parsing that down into the individual words. They're processing it as a whole. And the difficulty there is they don't then have the ability to manipulate that. It's not flexible in their memory. Another characteristic of their cognitive style is that they are over-selective on the cues that they choose when they're learning something. I'll give you an example of a young man I used to teach. I taught him for 3 years at a private school for children with autism. Didn't see him for a couple of years, ran into him and his mom downtown. And his mom was happy to see me and I was happy to see them. And she said, "George, don't you know who this is?" And George got the context straight. He started naming all the teachers at the school. And he got to Glenis and we said, "Yes, it's Glenis." And he said, "You cut your hair." Overly selective to cues that may not buy you much. We know that we wouldn't rely on a cue that is so transient. Hair length, my goodness, that's much too changeable. But that's what made me to George, was my hair length. So that's just an example of how they can attend much too selectively to a cue that may not help them out in every